Today, I brought out some new tools. Well, they're not really new to me. They're just ones I don't typically use, and I've been going through all my pens and pencils and everything and marking out, throwing away all the ones that don't work very well, just trying to get down to ones that do work. And I found these, and honestly, I hadn't used at least 2 out of 3 of them in so long. I didn't even really know I had them. So anyway, this one right here is a Copic multi-liner in cobalt blue. 0.3 tip. So it's nice and small, a really small tip. And so I'm interested in what that will do for me. And then I pulled out this Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen in dark sepia. And it is, like kind of brownish, and it's also a pretty small tip. Let me see if it tells me how big. Oh, it doesn't. It just says it's an S tip. That's the way they do it, S. Which is looks about a 0.5. And then I found a Micron 01 in pink. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I thought I'm going to pull that out. And I also think it would look so pretty with the blue and the brown. And last but not least, I did bring myself a pencil. And, funny enough, I didn't bring myself a tortillon. So maybe I have one here in my little cup. And I do. So now I have a tortillon in the picture as well. So anyway, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do today, other than that I decided to do something with this new phi tile I just bought. I bought a package of these white ones. I hadn't used these before. And the white ones, I only had used the Renaissance, which I just love, but I hadn't tried it really, how do I like the white. So I thought that I would kind of do a little bit of a traditional Zentangle on this one. So first things first, I am going to make a border, and I also think I'm going to turn the orientation this way. I'm just feeling it a little bit, and it changes a little bit of the ability to see the whole thing on your screen, I think. Looking at that now, and maybe that's not such a great idea because you'll want to see, well, I don't know, we'll try it. Anyway, I'm going to do my 4 dots in my corners, and I'm just going to draw some light lines from corner to corner. And then I'm going to do a string. And, I don't always do this because I'm so confident that I have a design in my mind that I want to do. And I already don't like what I just drew right there. So look how free Zentangle is. I'm just going to put a line right through it. And maybe I'll just tangle over that piece right there. I just don't like that dangling piece. And so we'll see what I end up doing with it. But there's my basic string. And I'm going to start with this blue pen because I'm just dying to use it, this cobalt blue. And maybe start with a nice dramatic tangle that will give me something to work with. Well, it will give me a good contrast as I go in this. And I've really been enjoying these larger fragments and reticula. So I'm going to draw a grid, a pattern, and I'm going to put a fragment into my grid pattern. Let me see here. I think I'll go like this, right down like that. So I've got kind of 2 rows there. I'll get a little cut off, which is just fine, but 2 rows of a fragment. And it's not uncommon for me to make up a fragment, just make it up, and I'm going to do that today. And typically the way I do it, in fact, let me draw over that little lump I don't like right there. And I'm going to tangle right over it. So typically what I do is I just start making a portion of the design in every box, and then I do another portion of the design in every box, and another one, until I've got something that is either full, every box is full, or it just looks good. I like it. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. And so feel free to tangle along with me or do your own. Use materials like mine or use your own. Draw on a notebook, draw on a napkin, on the back of a coaster, wherever you can. And I'm going to start with a crescent in these corners like this. And when I do this, I typically do it the same, the same size and shape of thing every time, even if the corner gets cut off, you know, which it might. There, that's like one little last one. I think maybe I'll have to come back and fix that later, do something with it, but I think I'm just going to keep it just these rows instead of trying to deal with that little tiny corner right there. And then I'm going to divide, and I'm kind of going from this corner where my pencil line is, but I skipped this little section, and then I'm drawing down as if I'm going to the next corner. Same thing here. Pretend I'm starting at that corner and then go like this. Same thing there. You see? And I didn't make it quite to the corner there, but it's okay because my design is just sort of starting, and so there's nothing to compare it to. So whatever I do at this stage is the truth, if that makes sense. I'm following now this curve right here, but only on half of the space, and stopping it when I get to the edges of the fragment so that it looks like that. And then I'm going to turn my tile a little bit because my hand works really well in this motion, and from this angle I can generally stay kind of consistent when I keep my hand not only at the same place as I go, but also this particular angle. I like to go from top to bottom like this, and it just seems to work well for me. I didn't start with a breathing exercise this time, but as always, I do feel like this is an opportunity for some mindfulness and intentional focus. So as I continue around this, I'm going to do a little breathing and roll my shoulders back a little bit and push ideas that don't, or thoughts that aren't connected to what I'm doing right now out of my mind. I've had a busy day already, and so I don't want to think about those things. I want to be right here with you. You'll see as I keep doing this that the repetition of the pattern really is dramatic. I think this is pretty much the biggest thing that separates Zentangle from just doodling, is this repetition, the pattern, and the patterns that the patterns make. Right, the next level of pattern. Now next way I'm going to go just straight down, parallel to that line that I did down the middle. Straight lines all the way from edge to edge, following that middle line, see? I love it when they sort of come in right at the same place like that. It's like serendipity. See that little chunk that I drew that I didn't like very well? I drew right over it. Can't even tell it was there. There we go. Look at that. A really bold pattern. And I think I'll go back in here and do an aura and then color this part in so that it has a nice stamp in each of those places. It sort of places it in time and space, right? Anchors it, if you will. Yeah, I like that. Very cool. Now, I'm going to decide what to do in my next one, and I think I'll do something a little bit curvy. And I sometimes look around for some inspiration, like shoelaces. I am in a room where my shoes are stored, and there's really cool shoelaces all around. But I think I'll do this. I'm going to take one of these little sections, and I'm going to pretend like it wraps around there. And then I'll take another one right here and pretend like it wraps around. And there aren't any more, but I'm going to do another one right here and pretend like it wraps around. And in order to even give a little bit more of that impression, I'm going to kind of curve around that edge like that and give a little bit of shadow to that spot where it wraps around. It just gives that idea of being wrapped around this thing as if it's a cylinder, right? That's my idea anyway. I think I might need to add a couple more of those. Like this. Yeah, I like that. One more here. There we go. So these sort of wrap around that. And now I'm going to put in this space some stones. And the way that I do it is this technique. I'll show you one. Is you draw one rock with the tops kind of cut off, right? It's not a perfect circle because I've drawn the sides and left the top and the bottom sort of cut off. Then I go to the next one and draw that little edge and that little edge as if it sits slightly behind this one, and then that one. And the same on this side, I draw this little edge and this little edge and then go around like that. And then I'm going to tuck a last one right in there. So it kind of hangs off that edge. I really like that. That gives it a real 3D look, and it'll be even more so when you see what we do with the shading. So I'll do another one here. My first one's in the center, and then I go over here and I add one, and it gets cut off by that, which is fine. Actually, I like the way that looks. And then I go like this and squeeze that one in on that edge. Well, I'll go over here and do the same. Whoops, I like to do my first one kind of first. Actually, I did a little sloppy there. It's okay. And down here. Look at that. That's kind of neat. Now it's got this little border right there that I think I want to just get one more of these in so that I can use this structure, if you will, to tuck these in right there. And this one right there. And a final one over there on the edge. So now I have this cool pillar looking thing, and I'll really have fun with that with shading later. So that's a neat one. Now in here, I think, let's see here. I think what I'll do is some swirly lines that follow the curve. And they go get bigger distance here, and then I'm trying to tighten them up down here. And there. And then because this is where my border is, I'm just going to pretend like they kept going like that. And get a couple more in right there, but those get cut off by the design borders. You see? And this one I might just continue outside the border like that. Now I have to fix this a little bit because I'm a little too OCD to just leave it. I don't like to throw words like OCD around as if it's not, you know, like everyone has it, and I don't. So I don't mean to do that if that's your thing, you know. So I apologize if that's insensitive, but anyway, I do like the details sometimes to be right, but it's not too much of a struggle for me. So anyway, there we go. Now this is interesting because it's got a lot of dramatic flow to it, and I could do something inside of these things, right? Or I could just build on them. And I think I'm just going to kind of do a little stream of consciousness tangling here. You feel free to do what you want in your spaces, and you can try what I'm doing if you want to, or do a totally different thing. It's in these varied widths that you get this effect of movement, right? If everything was exactly the same width apart, it would not give this kind of impression of waves or something like it. All right, it's got to have this. Sometimes it gets real close and sometimes it's real far apart. And that's what creates that look of depth and motion. Can add a few more in here like this. Yeah, it's neat. And we did this pretty quickly, right? This is about, it took us about 10 minutes, took me about 10 minutes to get to this point on this tangle. So now I'm going to go in and do some shading. And I wanted to show you something kind of, I don't know, quicker, I guess, from a standpoint of it doesn't always have to take you an hour, right? You don't always have to have a lot of time. And you can also start a tangle and finish it later. So what I'm doing now is laying my graphite down along this edge where the directions change. It goes one way for a while, then goes the other way. And I'm also going to shade around the outside of these parts. I think that'll look cool. And down here, maybe I might end up going all the way around them, I don't know. Yeah, I think so. And even here, right? Those are neat boxes, I like them. Now here, I'm going to shade above and below these little bands, and by doing that I'm actually then putting the shadow onto those beads below. And that makes both the bands around them and those beads or beans or whatever you want to call them inside there, makes both of them stand out a little bit more, a little differently. And maybe a little bit around where they overlap each other, those edges where they overlap, see? And then here, I like to shade wherever things get sort of small, where the things get overlapped. It looks like they're overlapping. So right up in here, put a lot of graphite down. Here where I have some of these sections that kind of overlap there. Here for sure. Here. And then this whole thing overlaps that thing below it, so I'll get that. And then here is going to get real deep, right? Almost like a hole. Right there. And here, same thing. And I can just put a little more into that. And over here, for sure. And there. Yeah, cool. All right, now let me work on my, see how this works out. And I'm not too careful with it, to be honest. I mean, obviously with this graphite, you can just move it around, and it's not a perfect science, and we're not trying to make it one. See there? I've got plenty of graphite on my tortillon to be able to just add a little bit of graphite where I didn't even write it. You know, right there, I hadn't put any down there, but I felt like it needed a little love there. And don't forget to breathe. I always do. And sit up straight. Give myself the gift of this very mindful activity where I am focused on making a thing of interest or beauty and not fretting about things out of my control right now. Oh, I love the way that looks. Now let's go back here and get these. And I'm just basically pulling this graphite down into that section, right? Like that. and not pushing it over that line, because it's the stark contrast of the line and then the shading that gives this cool 3D effect. Without that stark line, it just won't, without, having this shading compared to white right there, it doesn't have the same effect. So pulling the graphite down into it is where the magic is. See there? Wow, really cool. And now I'll go back up and get these, just the top part right there. Just enough for some sort of curiosity. What is up there? Yeah, I like that. What do you think? I love the way it looks. I'll be shading here in these little delicate areas, going nice and gentle. Pulling that graphite up onto those little rocks. Maybe there's river rocks, and this is a pillar of some kind. That's what it sort of looks like to me. Yeah, I like that. I might go back in with my pink pen and color in behind these little rocks. Right back here in those little triangles that were formed by the shape of those stones. I've already done the graphite, so honestly the pink's not going to show up very much. But it's just a hint of color to make you wonder. What is back there? What is that pillar made out of? There we go. Yeah, I kind of like that little hint of pink in there. Maybe you might not even be able to see it. Just pale pink. Yep, it's pretty neat though. And I think it's done. I enjoyed it. It was cool. I love this swoopy part here. I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. I love the combination of these three tangles together in this phi tile. I think it's cool. So I'm going to sign it with my pink pen. And on the back as well. And if you like it a lot, you can buy it in my Etsy store, which is of course under the name Meg Steele Creates. And today is I think it's 28/21. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you will come back again. Please like and subscribe and comment with whether you enjoyed this video, if you'd like more like this or something different. And just love to hear from you and know that you're out there and that you have preferences. I'm happy to work towards those, and just really appreciate that you're out there. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic day, and take good care of yourself and those you love. I appreciate you. Bye-bye now.